Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm sorry if I sound a little weird today. My allergies are going berserk right now. But I just wanted to do a bit of a different video and show you guys my top 5 favorite games of all time. Now, these games are not in any particular order because trying to rank these, I just can't do that. I'm not going to go too in-depth in talking about these games. I'm just going to give like a brief overview of it, tell you guys what the game is, and then from there, I highly recommend that you guys check these games out if you haven't before, because all of these are absolute masterpieces in my opinion. First things first, I guess we'll go in the order that the game's released. So first off, Resident Evil 4. This is easily, honestly, I said these weren't in any order, but in terms of the game that I hold closest and dearest to my heart, it is Resident Evil 4. Take a look inside. Oh my gosh. This is like the old school days, okay, when they still put manuals inside of the games. Now the question is this one fully in color? Oh no, it's in black and white. You know what, I kind of expected that because for those of you that don't know, basically any of the greatest hits games, especially during like the PS2 and Xbox generation, they would do anything possible to cut back on costs when it came to making these editions of the game. Part of that, unfortunately, was turning the manual black and white, but it is what it is. Eventually, I do want to get like a black label copy of Resident Evil 4 so then I can have the in-color manual. Yes, I am quite an avid video game collector and I do care about little things like that. It really does make a difference when, you know, you open up the case, you see the manual there, it's all in color, and you just have like the complete in-box experience. Again, you know, every time that I'm buying games, I try to avoid the greatest hits ones because I like being able to look at my collection and it's just like a consistent stream of black labels. But again, if I'm buying a lot and it's a really good deal that I just can't pass up, then I don't mind if there's like a greatest hits label in there. Put in perspective just how much this game means to me, yesterday during the state of play that was happening, me and a buddy of mine were watching it together on the Discord watch along feature, and as soon as they showed Resident Evil 4 remake gameplay, I started bawling like a baby to a point of where I couldn't even see the gameplay because tears were just flooding my eyes to that extent. Like, I don't want to go too in depth with it right now, but this game got me through the absolute hardest times of my life, multiple different times and multiple different eras of my life. I might talk about that one day. It would definitely be one of those like cliche Resident Evil 4 save my life type videos, but it truly did. This game means a lot to me. This is more than a game to me. Like, this is just, it's something I hold so near and dear to my heart. That's why I've always hated that argument that video games aren't art, because it's obvious that they are art. I mean, video games themselves, I mean, through and through, every aspect of them is art. The soundtrack, you know, music is considered an art. You got the concept art, like the drawings that make up what the final in-game models will be like. So not only is the process leading up to the in-game modeling technically art, but also just like the art itself of making the in-game models. I mean, I consider graphic design and like 3D animating and stuff to be an art. And then you got the coding process, which is essentially just writing, and writing is considered to be an art. So through and through, every aspect of video games will always be art, in my opinion, and that goes beyond opinion. It's just a fact. Video games are in fact art, and this is a piece of art that I will never let go and I will always cherish dearly. I'm not even kidding when I say all it takes is somebody turning on either this track called Serenity from the game or the save theme music for me to just start crying. Like, I will instantly cry tears of joy. Next up, this one came out in 2008, Lego Batman the video game. Now, I doubt there's many of you that haven't at least seen this game or played it before, but oh man, look at it. We still, wait, the manual is still in here. This is my original copy from 2008. I've had this game for 15 years, and as you can see, it's still in relatively pristine condition. When it comes to replaying Lego Batman, I have it on Xbox 360. I have it on PS3. I'm able to play it on my Xbox One through backwards compatibility, but for some reason, I always go back to the PS2 version. I always open it up and flip through the manual. As you can see, it's all in color, and I ended up buying this game for multiple other consoles as well. Like, I bought it for my PS3 recently. I'm weird like that. Even though I'll have a game for one console, I always end up repurchasing games on other consoles and platforms just so that I can experience the game again and see what the differences are, get the achievements and trophies on different platforms. I mean, I'm not too big into trophy and achievement hunting, but if I have the opportunity to afford the game again, buy it again, re-earn the trophies, and also play through it on a different platform and get that other experience, then I'll always do that. For example, Grand Theft Auto 5, when it first launched, I beat it on Xbox 360 back in the day, and then I beat it on PS3, and then Xbox One, and then on PS4, and then on PC. Now, next up, this is tricky to figure out which one to talk about. I guess in terms of release order, the one that I'm choosing to talk about next technically did come out before the other one, if I remember correctly. They were in the same year. Next up, we got Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. This is a game that I beat back on launch back in 2013. Unfortunately, I do not have the manual. I guess this copy that I bought didn't come with it, but that's okay. You may be wondering, where's the disc? Well, it's because it's in my PS3 right now. Like I said, I only beat this game once back in 2013, and I actually just did a replay of it like a week ago, and oh my gosh, this game holds up so well. Originally, this game wasn't in my top 5 of all time. It was easily in my top 10, but after replaying it and experiencing it again, and now that I'm a bit older, my brain's more developed, and I'm able to like catch on to all the little nuances and bits of satire and the dialogue. Now that I'm able to get like a full grasp on the story and the game's mechanics, this is in my top 5 of all time. And this game is tied with, well, honestly, all of these game soundtracks are amazing. Like, if somebody was to ask me my favorite video game soundtrack of all time, these 5, technically 6 games, we'll get to that, they're all tied for me in terms of favorite OST, but in terms of the ones that I tend to revisit and listen to most, it would definitely be this, Resident Evil 4, and then there's one coming up that I won't spoil. It's probably going to be the last one that we cover. This game is just so satisfying to learn and play, and it's even more satisfying once you master it, you master the combos, then you get a grasp for how not only your main katana works, but then how to combine that in with your unique weapons. Like the one that I always go to is the pole blade, because you can do that move, you go like triangle, triangle, square, square, triangle, and then you like do a few other combinations. I can't honestly remember off the top of my head what they are. I have to be holding the controller to know it and just feel the vibrations of the controller to know when I'm executing the combo right. You do this combo where you turn into a Beyblade and you start like spinning tornado speed on the floor, like you're skating across the floor. You have this pole blade, like you're just like holding it up. It's really hard to explain. You're just going Beyblade mode, cutting off these dudes' ankles. It is so sick, and it was one of my go-to combos in my most recent playthrough. And then again, don't even get me started on the soundtrack in this game. It is so anime. It is so metal. It is so good. I actually plan to buy the OST on CD here soon because it's that good. Every time that I go out for my runs or I'm jogging around my neighborhood, I just turn it on. Stranger I Remain, Rules of Nature, It Has to Be This Way, all amazing tracks from this game. Oh, especially It Has to Be This Way. If you never played this game, I do not recommend looking up that one though, because it plays during the final battle, and oh my gosh, when you're hearing the OST for the first time and I can't spoil it, just please play this game. It is available through backwards compatibility on Series X and Xbox One, and if you have a PS3, well, you can play it there. Unfortunately, no way to play it on PS4 or PS5 yet, but it's also available on PC. Right now, actually, since the 10th anniversary just happened a couple of days ago, it is still on sale on Steam. So if you never got the chance to play this masterpiece, please do yourself a favor and pick it up and play it. Next up, we got a 2-in-1. I know this is technically kind of cheating, but I really can't have one without the other, and that is The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. I don't care how controversial this is. I love both of these games to death, including the second one. In fact, I love and respect the second one for having the guts that it did to tell the story that it did, but especially the first one. Let's just focus on the first one for a second. This, again, there's a common theme with these games, okay? All of these games came in my life at times when I needed them most, when I needed to escape from real life the most, and I guess that's part of why I have such a deep emotional attachment to these games, and this is definitely one of them. Again, I'm not gonna go too in-depth on what was happening in my life at the time, but this was there at the perfect time. I actually made like a huge essay piece on it a couple months ago. It was like 35-40 minutes long, something like that, and it was just me talking about how this and the second game changed my life for the better, and how it changed my outlook on a lot of things, and how it got me to come out of my shell, actually like talk to people again. I mean, granted, to this day I'm still relatively the loner type. I still really never hang out with people, but if it wasn't for this game, I probably still wouldn't even text people, because back then I refused to ever text people. But like nowadays, that I honestly thank this game for teaching me that it's okay to come out of my shell, to accept love, to confide in somebody else when you need it most. Like nowadays, you know, I keep in touch with my moderators on Discord. I keep in touch with a lot of you guys on Discord. Like I've done a lot better in this last year about like coming out of my shell and actually talking to people. And when it comes to my mods on Discord especially, you know, we're really close friends in real life. So I've started allowing myself to, you know, get those things off my chest when I need to, and it has honestly helped a lot. And again, I thank this game so dearly for teaching me that lesson in the first place. And again, beyond the lessons that the game teaches you, like, this game in itself is just absolutely amazing. Similar to most other people, I bet, during the intro cutscene, I did cry like a baby. And many other times throughout this game, this is one of the most gripping games I've ever played. I beat this game in one day. It took me about 12 hours to do it, and I beat it basically in one sitting. Considering that this is a PlayStation exclusive, I know this is one that not too many folks have experienced, but next month, March, it is going to be coming to PC. So if you haven't experienced this game, well, you guys are going to be getting access to The Last of Us Part 1, which is a remake, essentially, of this game. It's the same game, everything's intact, just better graphics. So please, 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 if you've never played it, or if you've never given it a shot, please play it. And if you're on Xbox and you have no access to a PlayStation or PC, honestly, I recommend looking up like a full walkthrough on YouTube. You know, those people that post like 12 to 20 hour videos of them just beating one game in one video. I definitely recommend watching something like that, because the whole game in itself, you could honestly just kind of backseat game and watch this. Even with the gameplay segments, it plays out like one long 12-hour movie, and I absolutely love it. Hey, come on. The draft scene, top tier. So much life and beauty in such a dead world. I love that scene still to this day. And then The Last of Us Part 2, I have to say even less about this game, because this game is accessible to even less people since there's no plans for a PC release at this time. And plus, with this being a sequel, there's only so much you can talk about. A lot of heartbreaking moments in this game, and there's a lot of moments for even somebody like me where I just kind of had to sit and process everything and just go, oh, that just happen. A lot of deep cut and heart-wrenching moments in this game, but it's not all sad and depressing. There's also some great action in this game, just like in the first game. You know, you go up, you be shanking people, punching them in the face, shooting them in the face, all the usual fun video game stuff. There's not much I can say about it. If you played it before and weren't too hot on it, please give it another chance, and if you've never played it before and heard about the reviews and you're like, I don't really know if I want to play it, please play it for yourself. I will admit, there's something that happens halfway through the game where you go, what? And you're just kind of waiting to get back to the point that it leaves you off on. It's like a mid-game cliffhanger that you return to about 8 hours later in gameplay. It's a little hard to explain, and it is a little jarring, but I can definitely say by the time that you reach the credits, it all pays off, and it's all entirely worth it. Like I said, even if you have played the game before, I highly recommend going back and giving it another shot. You'd be surprised by just how much this game will grow on you if you were the type of person to not like it as much at first, because I've seen a lot of people talking on social media about how, yeah, their first playthrough, they weren't too hot on it, but then the second playthrough, they started to like it more, the third playthrough, they started to understand it, and it just, like, clicked with them more and more and more. Personally, I've actually only played this game one time, but that one time was enough for me. Like, it was so good. These two games are definitely games I plan to replay and return to at some point, but considering I just did that within the last year, I'm gonna let them simmer for a bit before I return to them. I'm gonna give it like at least another year or two, maybe 3, and then I'll dive back in and re-experience it again so it's as fresh as possible for me. Last but definitely not least, and definitely the most controversial, Cyberpunk 2077. Yes, this is in my top 5 favorite games of all time. I am one of the people that was defending this game back at launch, and mind you, I didn't even have the PS4 version back then. I was playing on a base Xbox One, which was objectively the worst platform to be playing this game on. I was playing the game at like 600, 720p at best, at like 15 to 20 frames per second, and I loved every second. And that is still the only way that I've experienced this game. I have not played the PS4 version yet. My only experience was with the base Xbox One, like the original VCR model. That's how I played this game, and I still loved every single second, and it still made its way into my top 5 games of all time. So I guarantee if I would have played it on a new system like a PS5 or a Series X, my experience would have only been better. This one is also a relatively recent release, and it is a bit of a longer game. I know it came out like almost 3 years ago. Oh my gosh, it's been 3 years since this game released. Anyway, that shocks. I can't believe it's been almost 3 years since this. If the iffy launch kind of turned you off, if you weren't too sure if all of the hype that this game got after Edgerunners was overblown, I can promise you it was not. This truly is one of the best video game experiences of all time, and considering the fact that they put out so many patches, and especially now, like if you go back to play it on a base Xbox One or a base PS4, it is much more playable now compared to launch. Like on a base Xbox One, you can usually get a stable 25 to 30 FPS, which may not sound great, but if you compare it to launch, where, you know, even getting into a gunfight, you can be seeing anywhere from 10 frames to 15 frames per second, 25 to 30 is a lot better. The graphics in this game are absolutely stunning. The characters are amazing. The voice acting is also on point, and just the game itself, it all comes together so nicely. Like, it just feels like one massive connected and real world. Characters all work so well together. They all have great chemistry. Everybody's connected in a way that makes sense. Story is paced very, very well. You're taken from one point to the next without dragging out for too long, but also without going through it too quick. And I'm gonna just put this out there right now, between the two waifus in the game, Panam and Judy, Judy is mine. Like I said, I know I haven't gone too in-depth in actually talking about the games and the mechanics themselves, but it's because I believe in people playing games as blind as possible on their first playthrough. So that's why I didn't talk about them too much. I may go in depth on some of these games, like in a different video one day. Any of these games, including Cyberpunk, like if this is one that you've been turning away just because you heard about the negative launch, like please don't let that turn you away. Please experience this game at least one time in your life. The only thing that I will admit is that the combat it takes a little bit to get used to. I mean, it's not terrible by any means or clunky, not even close. It's just, it feels a little different from other FPS games. It takes a little bit to adjust to, but honestly, by the time you get like an hour or two in, you won't even notice it. So like I said, I apologize for not going too super in-depth on these games, but I also just wanted to leave this video as spoiler-free as possible. Just kind of talking about like the bare minimum, just in case any of you guys haven't played these games before. Yeah, these are my top 5 games of all time. Now I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. What are your guys' top 5, top 10, top 15, whatever it is? What are your top games of all time? Anyway, as always, a shout out to the patrons and channel members: Karma's Fagram, Little Bitty Tab, Big Daddy Matty, Chalupasaurus Rex, Razak Polar, Ray, Webster, Lamatz, Bianca, Spurgatory, Drip Croissant, Mel Alaskan, Computer Magic, Mason Army, TJ Y15, Flame 71, Aaron Reynolds, and Unknown. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. And remember, don't go hollow. Peace.